Good morning, everyone. Okay, so Alex here for my TED Talk today. I'm going to be rambling on about me making my riveted maille. So, 2006, I blame Jason Miles at that time, because I was talking about making riveted maille. He says, "Oh, you can go off and get the tools in Belgium for $350." I said, "Oh, that's not too bad," but at that time you could buy riveted maille from India for $350. So I wasn't doing it for the savings of it. This is more of a project. I knew it was going to take a long time. I thought it was a really great challenge. So there was a lot of hit and miss at the beginning, like even just the simple things of how many strikes with my hammer on my anvil do I need to sufficiently flatten so I've got enough of an area to then punch a hole through to put the rivet in. That took a long time. So at the end it was 3 strikes of my 26-ounce hammer on my anvil. Anything less than that just wasn't enough. So anyway, what I'm going to be talking about here is my just winding on the wire. It's really simple, and I'm sure there's lots of people who've got better ways of doing it, but this is the way that's been working well for me for the last 16 years. So I'm using 1.25 mil just mild gal wire that I get from Bunnings, and I've got a coil of it down here by my feet, and more than likely it's just going to get knotted and stuff like that if you decide to be insane enough to actually do this. All I've got is just simply a 10mm bar that I've drilled a hole here that I can feed the wire through. I've got a clamp here that I can use later on, and a block of wood that I've got a hole drilled through, and all I do is I just wind. And normally I don't do it here in the garage. Normally I have it done with the piece of wood between my legs, holding it while I'm watching a movie, which is, for example, I'm about to watch The Fifth Element for God knows how many times, or Oh Brother Where Art Thou, or Tropic Thunder. So the big thing to remember with this is a coil of wire. It is not a spring. And when I've had demonstrating this to people, it's one of the things that, oh, this is good, and they pull it. And since it's not a spring, the coil's just now a longer coil, and basically there's a whole lot of ruined wire. So that's a frustrating part, and when you're talking to the punters, you really have to explain to them that this is a really bad idea if you want to try and pull it like a spring, because it just makes me angry. Now, as you can see, it doesn't take too long with this. Now, people say you can use a drill and everything like that, and you certainly can, but the faster you go, the faster you can make mistakes. Because if it goes whipping through, either you get your fingers caught, you get a knot like this coming through, and then all of a sudden you get something caught, or the wire just backs up on itself, and then you've got to then unwind quite a few coils. And this is relatively harmless, painless sort of stuff. Now, my links, I don't know whether or not my links are too large and too thin, but from the first information that I got, I only have to lightly tap the wire. And lightly tapping, define what that is. Is that a lightly tap with a 5 kilo hammer? Well, I don't have one of those. That's why the 26-ounce one works really well. So this is the bit that a lot of at the shows the public doesn't see, because it's generally quite boring. Making a link and stuff like that is probably the more exciting part of it. So at the end, if anybody's going, oh geez, Alex can now help me fix my my riveted maille that I've bought from India, he says I certainly can, but generally it's going to be about $1 a link, because this takes time. The metal itself doesn't cost very much at all, but this takes time, because after this I'll do the cutting. After I do the cutting, I've got to do the heating to burn the gal off, and just to anneal it just a little bit, take off the hardness of it, and then I've got to actually then get to the flattening and the hole punching, which is arguably where the highest failure rate of making links actually occurs. And being a green hippie that I am, the the busted links I then straighten out, and then I cut into my rivets. So unfortunately I've got a lot of failed links which are then turned into rivets. I've never had to intentionally make flattened wire for rivets in itself. Okay, so I'm coming close to the end here. So I'm going to get my non-period pliers, snip it there, and snip it at the end here where the hole is, eventually. There you go. So as you can see, a coil, not a spring. The next part I might bore you with is actually cutting the link out, because that's a fun thing in itself. People talk about whether or not you flatten the link before coiling. I believe that you need to coil it first, so you've got that link and then you can flatten. If you try and do it the other way, you cannot have a flattened strip of metal and then coil it into a ring easily. I just don't. I've tried it, doesn't work. Not for me anyway. Okay.